Well, hello everyone. Seeking a Thread, Dom, returning. I wanted to get back from my sort of void here with an artist feature and an artist I've been meaning to sort of dive deep into that I don't know how many of you out there are aware of. One that I've been a huge fan of since I discovered her music with this CD, this record, which I'll talk more about why I don't have this record, but Brenda Ray. Brenda Kenny, her actual name. Brenda Naffy, Brenda Rhythm, all these different nicknames. Essentially, this is the music of a true experimenter coming out of a small town near Manchester in the late 70s. She started a group called Naffy with a few dudes. Freddie Viaduct, who I believe she was involved with romantically as well, and Captain Catchpole. I'll talk more about this insert in a second, but for this release. But this is music, as you're hearing. We're hearing some of it. I'll explain. Coming out of the post-punk underground, someone who was as much into sort of free jazz and the Slits and King Tubby, all of these things. Brenda Ray, a true genius in my mind, and also a recording engineer. She was recording all this music. The group Naffy started in this town, I'm forgetting, I don't have the town in front of me, Earlston I think it was, small town near Manchester, just outside of Manchester. I'll probably see it here somewhere later, but they were recording in the back of a barber shop, and they got together and started making music, just, essentially a recording project, just coming up with really cool rhythms, interesting, out there, as you're hearing. Their very first releases, I'll see if I can insert images, were all tapes. Actually, yeah, on the front of this insert are some of the tapes. Rockin' at the Naffy with the Nervous Norman, Naffi's Sandwich, the first one, another Rummin', and Rum was the label they were using for these tapes, Rum Records. And there's Brenda Ray with Freddie Viaduct, who was a guitarist. And what she was doing is just it's really dub music in the end, but it's just so much more interesting than that. There's a lot of pop, synth pop in it. It's just so interesting. Now, this was the first actual record they released. This is an original pressing on the Rum label, Brenda Ray's label. And I'm gonna, as we go through these, you're gonna see me over here playing the music as well. So when that happens, you'll see a picture of me, or a video of me playing this music, and this will mute. That's why we'll just show the record at that point. But so this first single, "Do You Hear Me?" Sort of a perfect introductory song from Brenda Ray with Freddie Viaduct. "Do You Hear Me?" Naffy with Freddie's Fever, the Hutch on the backside, on the B side. So, as I mentioned, a lot of her first releases until this single were cassettes, and a lot of it was this kind of music. This is taken from one of the tapes. Let's just show you what this is from. So these were the tapes that were coming out, and this is the compilation of those tapes called Naffy Sandwich, Hoochie Pooch, Space Alligator, Freddie Viaduct at Naffy HQ, 79 to 83. These are their earliest tape experiments. It's a compilation of what was on those cassettes. Not all of it, but this is released on the M Records label. probably about 10 years ago now. So that's what we're listening to, and it's like I said, the earliest recordings that Naffy were making with Brenda Ray. They made this single, and another single on the Absurd label. I'm going to show you in a second. This is originally from 1981. This is on the Absurd label, which is a label that was a bigger punk label, sort of step up. This is Slice 1 and Slice 2, which are compiled elsewhere on another compilation I'll show. And this is just, more further abstract dub expression. Is the Absurd label. I'll try to insert some of the other, I can't think off the top of my head what some of the other punk artists that were coming out on Absurd. But I just love this cover. This is a sort of like guerrilla warfare guitarist sort of image here. Recorded at the Ampex Cooperative, West Didsbury, Manchester. Absurd Records. Yeah, they were performing live. Apparently Nico saw them at this time. She was in London at the time. I don't remember the history on that, but she loved them. John Peel loved them. He played his tapes in her car. He played their tapes in his car, I guess, on his long drives. John Peel was always looking to try to champion stuff that no one else was talking about. That was his sort of mission statement. But Naffy would continue, and they would finally record an LP. This is the only pressing of this, the original pressing, 1983. Yum 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 Ya, or Yummy 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 Ya, great song. On the Arc label out of, I believe, London. And yeah, this is just them going full on here. I mean, you have the track on here, Moonbeams, is a super amazing song, career highlight. Freddie Viaduct takes big part on this, but it's really Brenda Ray who's driving the sort of the rhythm and the production. They're recording at her home, basically, this barbershop that I mentioned, but also at her house. She had a whole recording rig at her house, full Studer tape machine, mixing desk. She would later on be met with, I'll show you pictures later of her with Lee Perry. Is there anything inside this? No. This is from 1983, I think I said, right? 82 or 83. No, this is 82 on the Arc label. Just incredible. It's such a mix of all kinds of different stuff happening, as you can hear. Although this is, like I said, the earlier tapes that was compiled, but this stuff, it tends to be bringing more sort of that Eastern influence pop, Balearic pop, you might call it. Just free sounds and a lot of percussion. She loved percussion. She loved throwing in, little bits of flute here and there. Lots of sort of maybe contact mics and reverb on the percussion, and just so far out. So we're gonna play some of this. Certainly Augustus Pablo was an influence. That here. And then she would finish up the Naffy project with this Naffy Locksman LP. This is also on the Arc label. This is from 1985. And this one is heavy on the dub side of things. Technically an EP, really, but you do have Brenda Kenny with some other folks here I don't really know. Keith Cole, Carl John, Eugene Lange. But you're seeing lots of different kind of instrumentation happening. Pixophone, Brenda Ray's playing. Cabasa, bells, maracas, tambourine, all kinds of percussion, as I mentioned. Bells. There's even a little bit of cornet on this, tenor sax. Really cool. Naffy Locksman, Situation 2. Or just self-titled, really. Recorded September 83. It says recorded and mixed at Naffy HQ, Porta Studio. Well, Porta Studio, I guess. Some of it mixed at the Arc Recording Studio, but final mix served Freddie Viaduct. So here we go with Naffy Locksman. The Naffy project. I think Freddie Viaduct kind of splintered off, and it was really a recording project anyway. Like I said, they did record live, but it was mainly stuff to be done inside, indoors, and released on records and cassettes, as you're hearing. And she would start a new project, which was a little more pop-based, but a big hip-hop influence and sort of just a big beat influence. Brenda and the Beach Balls. This is from '86, and this actually does still feature Brenda and Freddie Viaduct. Yeah, 1986 this is. This is an EP, also an English pressing, the only one pressing of this. Oh, this is on Probe Plus, sorry. Brenda Ray, Brenda and the Beach Balls.
Radio, come on, I'm in glass like me. I'm running around the place, eating at the boat.
Yeah, only 4 tracks on this. Is that right? I think it's 6 maybe, actually. 5 tracks, but this does feature Freddie Viaduct. And, yeah, cool to see that image of Frank Stokes there. But Freddie Viaduct bass guitars and Brenda Kenny with, again, all of the stuff. Melodica, xylophone, drums, synths, cut-ups. And yeah, like I said, this one leans a little more sort of pop-centric and a little less sort of on the out there experimental dub side, but it's just got, I'll play, well, you heard some of it, it's got that big beat to it. And there's also some 12-inch singles. Well, 12-inch single, Catch a Falling Star. This is only okay, but worth having because I'm a completist with Brenda Ray, Naffy International. You see that there. I'm not totally sure who that is. I guess it's probably on there somewhere, but here's the 7-inch single of it. This one has an extra remix. The 7-inch single did not. Here's another version of them doing Do You Hear Me, the early Naffy song. Naffy, by the way, sort of means like nothing or shit. There's an expression for Naffy sandwich, which means like a nothing sandwich or a sandwich with just mayonnaise on it. But I hope you're liking it. I hope you're getting a good idea of the sounds. Again, what we're hearing from is this compilation. What we've been listening to as I talk was this compilation that is really a compilation of the earliest Naffy sandwich stuff. The tapes, all these cassettes, although it does include the Naffy Locksman released some of that too. Not all of them. You can still get this. I think this is, I don't know if it's in print, but no one's really asking for too much on this. I highly recommend it. I mean, look at that cover. And the last record I have here is really a compilation of the few LPs, the Naffy Locksman, some of the tapes, but this is really a Brenda Ray. This is maybe the definitive compilation to have. I don't think a lot of you are going to seek out a lot of these original pressings. But this, I think you can still get for, it's definitely not in print like the Naffy Sandwich Viaduct HQ one here. But this one, also not in print, but I think the used copies aren't really asking too much. And this features some of the best tracks from those 2 LPs, Naffy Locksman. There she is. That's my favorite picture of her with the mic there. there's really no. There's one video I found, but actually it talks about it in this insert, and it's with her performing on a BBC show. She's backing up. Let's see, who is it? I want to say because she's in it for like a second, but there she was. Images of the period are as rare as the cassettes, but in the beginning of the 80s, Naffy Sandwhich backed Holly Johnson on a television show, Celebration, so historical footage is out there somewhere. This was a post-punk music special featuring Pete Burns, Dead or Alive, A Certain Ratio, and Holly. Pete Fullwell, partner of Eric's, got this gig, and he managed the artists, including Pete Wiley. I appeared and played on Whistle Test 82 with Wah, and also played percussion on Pete's Word to the Wise Guy. So yeah, that's her in that video. That's the only video that I think I can find of her. All the two compilations here that I speak of, both of these on M Records out of Japan, they both have really great liner notes and detail about what she was doing. So now I will talk about the most frustrating release, the one I showed very first. Now this is the one record I look for every single day on Discogs. I was in the 2021 vinyl tag. It was like the one record you hope to find that year. I still haven't found it. This was also released on M Records in 2012, I think it is, or 9, 10. And this is Walata. This is an interesting story, and it's just, I mean, I love all of this music. This is sort of a bit of a different thing. Sometime in the 90s, she met Roy Cousins. Slipping my mind what group he was with, but he was a producer, vocalist. What group was he in? I'll have to insert it here. But she got to meet him, and he opened up a record store and an imprint, Wambisi, which you may have seen. I'll insert the label image here. His own dub imprint label. And they got to talking, and he recognized her genius and just sort of her home recording prowess, and he actually gave her original tapes from Jamaica with Prince Farai on it. King Tubby produced, Prince Jammy. All the musicians are listed. He gave her these tapes, and he said, you know, why don't you take these and sort of do your thing on them? And she did. She took the original tapes from Cousins and put her own blend of sort of Naffy sound, all of that percussion, all those flutes, melodicas, sort of intense reverb, and these close mic vocals, almost like ASMR, like very breathy. I'll insert music at the end, and she made her own music up there. I mean, Scientist is featured on. Oh right, Scientist was another one of the engineers on these. Like I said, Prince Farai's voices are actually on this. And I was working at Kim's in Manhattan, and I bought the CD. The record was there. I only made 500 of them with a silkscreen cover. I think it was expensive for that time. 10, 12 years ago. It was like $30. I was like, no, I'll just get the CD for like 14. Wish I hadn't. I've never seen it come up for sale. I don't think a copy is sold on Discogs in about 2 years. I was saying I missed that one. So I'm intensely looking for that, but this is just iconic. Here she is in the studio. Musicians for the basic rhythms. Now this is so cool that she recontextualized these, and she did this in the 90s essentially. And yeah, she released 2 singles on Wambisi, Roy Cousins' label, which came out as precursors before this, and those singles are pretty hard to get too. But then I don't know, I think there was a delay in between the singles getting released and then this. This didn't come out for like 20 years later. It's all pretty foggy. They say that the recordings are from 95 to 2005. And the liner notes. But this is just amazing. And I'm going to read like the first paragraph of the liner notes here. There she is again at the mixing desk. I love this image of her too. Playing around with music box mechanism and dampening the teeth was my rhythm and harmony. Playing rhythms on a side drum plus test tones and frequencies from radio and television enabled singing and searching for harmonies. Lata Mangaksa and those high-frequency seductive Bollywood strings, Asha Puthli with the great creative Ornette Coleman on science fiction, Lonnie Liston Smith with his expansions, Pharoah Sanders including Thembi, Michael White, Land of the Spirit and Light, Marion Brown, Sweet Earth Flying, all definitely inspired by natural involvement playing with Latin jazz, with the Latin jazz band Inside Out. Always carrying cassette decks to record gigs. Offshoot experimental unit Naffi Sandwhich, later Naffy, a post-punk avant-garde unit. I played flute and melodica, rasps of alto sax, percussion and vox. Reggae, dub, Augustus Pablo, King Tubby meets Rockers Uptown, and doo-wop to hip-hop. That's Brenda Ray herself writing in the liner notes here. Walata, I guess it means it's Ethiopian for first daughter. And the recording was not plain sailing, as the original rhythm tracks from Wembisi were very old. Consequently, the heads of the multi-track 2-inch tape got very clogged up with the tape shredding, invariably slowing down the machine. Over this period, I used many pots of cotton buds and isopropanol cleaner to relentlessly continue. I found the overdubbing recording very challenging, but not from the creative side. So yeah, Cousins gave her these tapes, and they were falling apart, but she rescued them and made this record. Titles overdubbed, played, recorded, and mixed between 95 and 2005 at Naffy Studio. So I'm very much looking for this record, and this is very much a dub reggae straight album. There's less of the sort of avant-garde, playful rhythm. It's sort of, it's less of this sort of new wave pop thing too. It's more straight dub reggae, but intensely deep. I mean, the musicians recorded on his, they give you all the musicians too. Aston Family Man Barrett on the original recordings that she's playing with. Robbie Shakespeare, Earl Chinna Smith, who else we got? I mean, the big ones. The Roots Radix, Jeffrey Chung, guitars, Ernest Ranglin. Yeah, keyboards, Ansel Collins, Lloyd Terrell, Gladdy Anderson. Bernard Harvey, Bobby Califat, and horns, Bobby Ellis, Tommy McCook, and Vincent Gordon, the other successor to Don Drummond. All rhythms recorded in Kingston, Jamaica at Channel 1 Recording Studio with Ernest Hookham and Scientist. Engineer as well, Errol Thompson at Randy's Dynamic Sounds Recording Studios with engineer Carl Peterson. So, let's play you a track from this as we close out this feature on Brenda Ray. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm incredibly in love with this artist and her music, so hope you found something here. Thanks everyone for hanging with me, and hopefully we'll have more to come. It's been a bit of a break, and it's good to be back making video. Hope you dig this. Hope you enjoyed Brenda Ray. Thanks everyone. More to come.
Good